There's a billionaire, and if you don't know his name, you certainly know his business background. Les Wexner will be grilled tomorrow. This is part of what has become a bipartisan rebuke to Donald Trump over and over on the Epstein files. He said no new files. Congress made him release them. That's the story we've been following. He said, let it go. It's an old story. Congress said, no, there's more to do. And so it stays in the news because of these actual investigative developments. Now, Wexner had a long and very big kind of business relationship with Epstein. The question is, what kind of business? But tens of millions of dollars were exchanged. This deposition will occur in Ohio. That's part of an accommodation of the witness, who is 88 years old. Now, when I mentioned business, what these two men did in business is part of what's under investigation. So on the one hand, we could tell you that Wexner was a successful businessman, a billionaire, and that he was also a benefactor of Epstein, that he helped him financially.
So there's this billionaire, and even if you don't recognize his name right off the bat, you probably know a thing or two about his business dealings. Les Wexner is in the hot seat tomorrow, and this comes after a consistent push from both sides of the aisle in Congress regarding those Epstein files. He was pretty dismissive about it, saying no new files, but Congress wasn't having it and demanded that he release them anyway. That has kept the story alive, especially with real investigative actions coming to light. Now, Wexner had quite the extensive business connection with Epstein, and the big question is what exactly went on there. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars exchanged, and this deposition is taking place in Ohio, thanks to the fact that our witness is 88 years old. The business activities between these two men are central to the investigation. So while Wexner has a reputation as a successful billionaire and was a financial supporter of Epstein, the details matter. Now, here's where it gets jaw-dropping. A secret audio recording just surfaced in federal court made at Mar-a-Lago on December 18, 2023. You can clearly hear Trump's voice on it. He's straight up instructing a witness to lie, telling them exactly what to say and to deny conversations that actually took place. He even advised this witness not to inform their lawyer about their chat. That's some serious witness tampering and obstruction of justice. And let's be real, that's one of the gravest offenses a president can pull off. We've got audio to back this up, which is pretty wild.
That's all there was to it. We want to be careful and follow the facts. But lawmakers, investigators, and independent journalists have raised the question of just why so much of Wexner's money ended up in Epstein's pockets. At one point, Epstein was managing Wexner's finances. Then they did sever ties. And that was in 2007 as more heat came on Epstein. What we're learning from the files, though, is that Wexner is in there over 1,000 times. Emails, lawsuits that seem to involve potentially both of them. And the DOJ has even modified some of the redactions to the 2019 FBI file.
It's pretty interesting to dig into the details. So let's take a closer look. Lawmakers, independent journalists, and investigators have been scratching their heads about how much of Les Wexner's fortune ended up in Jeffrey Epstein's hands. At one point, Epstein was even managing Wexner's finances, but by 2007, they cut ties as more scrutiny started to fall on Epstein. What's coming to light from the files is that Wexner's name pops up over 1,000 times in emails and lawsuits that hint at involvement from both of them. The Department of Justice has even adjusted some of the blacked-out sections in the 2019 FBI files, revealing that there's a recording that lasts 14 minutes. 14 minutes of Donald Trump instructing a witness to lie. It's not just a single piece of false testimony he wanted. It's an entire script of multiple instructions covering multiple pieces of false information. Basically, a bag full of crimes all caught on tape, and there's no way to deny what's on it. The person behind this recording was a witness in Virginia secretly recording Trump during their conversation. The whole thing went down in Virginia, and this witness captured it all. Special counsel Jack Smith filed the recording in federal court on 8th of February 2026, which means this news is fresh, just dropped a few days ago. Smith included this tape in a hefty 47-page filing submitted to Judge Tanya Chutkan, who's in charge of the classified documents case and the associated obstruction charges against Trump. Smith argues that this tape stands as direct evidence of Trump engaging in obstruction of justice, as well as tampering with a witness. Let's dive into some of the specific lines Trump drops on this recording. He tells the witness to claim they don't remember certain events. It's almost like he's handing them a script when he says, "I'm telling you what happened. That's what you need to say." He instructs the witness to deny a conversation that without a doubt actually happened, saying, if they ask about the Pence conversation, you say we never discussed that. And just to keep things under wraps, he adds, this is between us, stressing that the witness should keep the conversation a secret. Plus, he makes it clear, don't tell your lawyer. So there's this recording that's come to light, and it's pretty striking. It features Trump speaking directly about instructing a witness to lie. He's basically telling someone how to provide false testimony and covering up the truth regarding January 6th, especially when it comes to discussions about Mike Pence. It's really blatant, and there's no room for misinterpretation here. This isn't just hearsay. It's Trump's own voice caught on tape telling someone to commit perjury. Now, the prosecution has this recording, and they can use it in court, leaving Trump with very few options to counter it. What makes it even more serious is that the witness who recorded this was in Virginia when they captured Trump's voice coming from Mar-a-Lago. This suggests that Trump was either on a phone call with the witness or the recording was taken by some other means. Either way, it's Trump's own words, his own instructions to lie that are now on record and will be seen and heard in federal court. The prosecutors are claiming that this recording applies to what's known as the crime fraud exception. This legal principle means that if someone tries to use attorney-client privilege to cover up criminal activities, the courts can step in and force the disclosure of such information. So if Trump thought he could hide behind privilege, the alleged crimes he's involved in really take precedence. It's significant because not only is he accused of telling a witness to lie and obstructing justice, but this recording also touches on classified documents. It references Mar-a-Lago and file boxes, implying that there are classified documents at the resort. So the implications here are pretty extensive, showcasing not just attempts to mislead, but concerns surrounding national security as well. So, there's this tape floating around that not only touches on election-related stuff, but also has Trump possibly chatting about classified documents, the kind you definitely don't joke about. It seems like this recording could point to multiple serious crimes. We're talking obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and likely even some violations of the Espionage Act, all because of those classified documents. Now, Trump's reaction to all this, he's saying the tape is totally fake. He insists it's not really him on there, claiming prosecutors are spinning lies. And of course, he's pulling out the classic deep state narrative against him. But here's the kicker. This fake defense isn't holding up. The tape has been checked out and authenticated. Experts have done the audio forensics work, confirming that it's definitely his voice, and the prosecutors have backed that up too. Even the judge has had a look at it, and guess what? The recording is legit. So while Trump can deny all he wants, the evidence is compelling, the audio is crystal clear, and the specifics of what he's saying really can't be brushed aside. This isn't one of those situations where things are murky or open to interpretation. It's Trump, in his own words, indicating behavior that crosses into criminal territory. Now, if we really unpack what this recording signifies, it's a game changer for him. This isn't just some political scandal that will fade into the background after a couple of news cycles. No, this could serve as actual criminal evidence in court, and jurors will get to hear him directly instructing someone to lie under oath. Talk about a smoking gun in terms of obstruction of justice. Let's break down what witness tampering and obstruction of justice really involve. Witness tampering occurs when someone tries to convince a witness to lie, skip testifying, or hide evidence. Obstruction of justice happens when someone tries to mess with the legal process, like intimidating witnesses, destroying evidence, or lying under oath. There's a tape where Trump is accused of doing just that. He's supposedly trying to convince a witness to provide false testimony and cover up the truth about certain conversations and events. Specifically, he's accused of interfering with how a witness might testify. The legal charge comes from a law known as 18 U.S.C. Section 1512. This law makes it illegal for anyone to tamper with a witness aiming to influence, delay, or prevent their testimony. Importantly, this applies to everyone, even the president. It doesn't include any exceptions. So, when they say Trump violated this law, it means that based on the recording, he tried to influence what a witness would say. Now, let's dig into what's actually said on that tape because the details really matter. Trump tells the witness, "You need to tell them you don't remember." That's a clear command to give false testimony. He's instructing the witness to claim they have memory loss when in reality the witness recalls everything. That's straight up perjury, lying under oath, and it's Trump leading the charge. He doesn't just suggest it. He flat out instructs the witness to lie. He says, "I'm telling you what happened. That's what you need to say." That's him writing a script for what he wants the witness to say, directing them to present a certain version of events regardless of reality. Then he gets even more specific, saying, "If they ask about the Pence conversation, you say we never discussed that." This is Trump directly telling the witness to deny that they had a conversation about Mike Pence, which, according to prosecutors, really did happen. Trump isn't encouraging the witness to share the truth or remember accurately. He's explicitly telling them to lie about that conversation. That's some seriously damaging evidence. So here's the scoop. There's this recording that surfaced made on December 18th, 2023. That's really something else for anyone looking at obstruction cases. In it, Trump says, "This is between us," which frankly sounds like he's trying to wrap things up in a nice little secret package. He's telling the witness to keep things hush-hush, almost as if he's trying to build a wall around their conversation, ensuring no one finds out what he's suggesting. Then it gets even more telling when Trump adds, "Don't tell your lawyer." Now that's a significant move. Why would he say that unless he knew deep down that he was crossing a legal line? It's like he understood that this whole thing had a shady vibe to it. By telling the witness to keep it from their own lawyer, he's practically waving a red flag of guilt. Now, let me set the scene for you. This recording came during a time when Trump was knee-deep in an investigation about obstruction of justice and classified documents. Special counsel Jack Smith was on his tail, and the D's was set for potential criminal charges against Trump. Even with everything swirling around him, he was allegedly still coaching witnesses to lie and trying to obstruct justice regarding events of January 6th and those pesky classified documents. This tape isn't a one-off incident. It paints a larger picture of wrongdoing. It showcases a pattern of behavior where Trump just kept pushing back against the investigation rather than backing down. He was caught red-handed on tape, still trying to mess with witnesses while he was already under scrutiny for obstruction. That's as problematic as it gets. And about the witness, this person was in Virginia and decided to secretly record Trump. They clearly had some link to him or folks in his circle considering they were chatting about sensitive issues, but making the choice to hit record was a bold move. So, there's this recording that recently came to light, and it seems a witness has decided to step up and share it with prosecutors. This really hints that the witness is ready to testify and collaborate with the authorities. That's pretty significant because it means not only do the prosecutors have this tape, but they've also got someone who can provide context and answer questions about what really went down. Now, what's interesting is that this tape seems to mention file boxes and classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, linking it directly to the investigation around those classified materials. It turns out the recording shows Trump talking about classified documents with this witness, which gives the prosecutor some pretty solid evidence. They can demonstrate that Trump was aware of the classified documents being at Mar-a-Lago and even suggests he might have tried to convince witnesses to lie about them. That definitely adds strength to the classified documents case against him. Here's the kicker. This recording was made quite a while back on the 18th of December in 2023, but it only came to light in February of 2026. This means the prosecutors have had this evidence in their hands for quite some time, sitting on it while Trump was campaigning for re-election and even while he became president again. And now, right in the thick of the 2026 midterms, this tape gets released, making everyone suddenly very interested in talk about Trump tampering with witnesses. It's fair to wonder why the prosecutors delayed releasing the tape until now. Likely it was a requirement due to the legal process perhaps ordered by Judge Tanya Chutkin, or even tied to discovery rules that dictate prosecutors need to share evidence with the defense. But the timing, that's something else. It really couldn't be worse for Trump. It comes right when Republicans are trying to highlight his achievements and present his vision for the future. Suddenly, there's this recording of him telling a witness to lie. Right when they're trying to rally their base for the midterms, boom, There's audio showing Trump possibly obstructing justice. So the timing is pretty devastating for him. Let's dive a bit more into what this recording means for Trump's legal troubles. There's a lot of buzz about the potential political fallout here, and I can't help but think this could be a significant turning point. We're looking at what might be the most crucial evidence that prosecutors have against Trump, an audio recording that hints at criminal behavior, and it's likely to lead to some serious consequences. First off, the biggest takeaway is that Trump might soon face even more charges, or the ones he's already dealing with could get a serious upgrade. He's been under fire for obstruction of justice related to how he handled classified documents. But this new tape opens the door to a fresh case of obstruction. It gives prosecutors solid proof that he was tampering with a witness and directing someone to lie. That kind of evidence, it's going to make a big impression on a judge or jury. And it gets worse for Trump since this tape indicates he was trying to interfere even when he was aware he was being investigated. This happened back in December 2023, right when he knew Jack Smith was on his tail. So he was tampering with witnesses while fully aware that criminal charges were a real possibility. That tells you something. It screams consciousness of guilt. It shows he understood he was in the wrong and was willing to break the law to cover up his other misdeeds, which strengthens the prosecution's case significantly. The prosecutors are likely eyeing a charge under 18 U.S.C. Section 1512, which involves witness tampering. And let me tell you, this law comes with some heavy penalties. If convicted, Trump could be looking at up to 20 years in prison. That's no joke. Now, the strength of the evidence on this tape is pretty remarkable. It's all audio with Trump's own voice clearly making the case. There's zero ambiguity about what he's saying and what he's trying to achieve. If this goes to trial, and it probably will, you can bet the prosecutors will play this recording for the jury. They'll get to hear Trump in action instructing a witness to lie, and that's bound to leave a lasting impression. I'm hearing that Trump's words are going to be right in front of the jury. Not just a little slip of paper, but an actual audio recording. It's going to show him telling someone not to keep their lawyer in the loop. All while he tries to bury the truth about January 6th and those classified documents. Honestly, when the jury hears this, they're going to be shocked. They won't just hear whispers of wrongdoing. They'll recognize that Trump was trying to obstruct justice, and that realization is likely to lead them straight to a conviction. In court, there's a lot of room for spinning things around. You can debate meanings of words, intentions, and interpretations. But when there's a recording of someone clearly saying things that point to crimes, that changes everything. There's no wiggle room to say Trump didn't say what he said. It's all there in his own voice. Any chance of arguing that he was just joking or being sarcastic goes out the window because the tone on that tape makes it crystal clear that he was dead serious. Plus, no one can claim it's a fake. The tape is verified. The evidence against him is just so strong that it practically screams guilt, and the jury is likely to act on what they hear. Now let's talk about the bigger picture because this tape is going to shake things up politically. We've seen how Trump has been struggling in those special elections, and his reputation is like a lead balloon in suburban areas. And with the Democrats winning elections left and right, now throwing in this tape of Trump telling someone to lie, that's a game changer. It shows there's audio proof of his wrongdoing, and that's going to hit Republicans hard as they head into the midterms. When you think about the Republican message, which tries to paint Trump as a victim of the deep state, it's going to get pretty shaky. They want to spin it as if he's being treated unfairly. But then a recording drops that lays bare his actions. Suddenly, their entire narrative crumbles. The prosecutors look like they've got a solid case against him. And it forces voters to face the uncomfortable possibility that maybe Trump really did commit crimes. Suburban voters, independent voters, and swing voters, these folks care about the rule of law, and this revelation is likely to make them think twice. Voters are really paying attention to whether the president is sticking to the Constitution and avoiding any shady activities. Now, it turns out they've got audio proof that Trump crossed some serious lines. We're talking about clear evidence of obstruction of justice here, and even Trump's own voice admitting to witness tampering. You can bet that voters aren't going to take this lightly. This whole situation is going to create some serious splits among Republicans. On one hand, you've got those who will stand by Trump no matter what. They might dismiss the tape as fake or argue that it's being misinterpreted, claiming it's not really that serious. But then there are other Republicans who look at this and think it's too much to ignore. They see direct evidence of wrongdoing and feel the need to distance themselves from Trump, focusing instead on candidates without legal troubles. This division isn't great news for Republicans as they prep for the midterms. A united front is crucial. Fox News is already hinting that they're willing to throw some criticism Trump's way. Remember the situation with the Venezuela weapons? They seem to wobble a bit there. And now, with this tape circulating, they're likely to face increased pressure to report on Trump's actions more seriously. This could really shake things up, weakening Trump's grip on the narrative and making it much harder to convince people he's innocent. As for Trump's legal standing, this tape changes everything. Before it came out, he had room to argue his innocence. He could say he was being targeted, but now with actual audio proof of him committing crimes, it's a lot harder for him to maintain that defense. This cold, hard evidence is a big problem for him. Prosecutors are definitely going to ramp up their efforts, likely aiming for extra charges and pushing for an earlier trial because they want to bring this tape into play while it's still fresh in everyone's minds. So here's the deal. There's this recording that has surfaced, and it's causing quite a stir. It features Trump directly on tape, which makes things pretty serious for him. His lawyers are going to have a tough time coming up with a defense when there's audio evidence of him essentially tampering with a witness and urging that person to lie. That's a big deal. Obstruction of justice and witness tampering are no small potatoes. These are serious federal charges. From a legal standpoint, this tape is a total disaster for Trump. With such strong evidence, it seems pretty certain there will be a conviction. He's looking at a trial where honestly he might end up facing some serious consequences, possibly even prison time, and the timing couldn't be worse. This is all going down right in the midst of the 2026 midterms, which is definitely going to shake things up for the Republican Party. This development is a game changer in Trump's legal challenges, and it's bound to have a huge impact on the political landscape moving forward.